Hi everybody, I'm Krista Loos, the Wellness Dietitian at KSB Hospital. Today we're filming at County Market in Dixon, so thanks to them for letting us film here. Last month we talked about seasonal produce, so this month we wanted to go to the grocery store and talk about how to pick produce. And then again, always thank you to Community and Wellness for hosting these educational topics each month. So we'll jump right into how to pick seasonal produce. I want to talk about 5 tips on picking out our produce. Tip number 1 is, think about what meal you're needing this produce for. Do you need it ripe for tonight's meal, or is it waiting 3 or 4 days on the counter until you're cooking that meal? Because that's going to determine a little bit about how you're picking it. Because if we need it ripe for tonight, that's going to change maybe how soft the produce item is if we need it ripe and ready. Tip number 2, look at the produce. We want to make sure there's no bruises or cuts on it. If we do have any damage to that skin on the outside of the produce item, it might make it spoil a little bit quicker. So being mindful of any bruises or cuts on the outside of the produce item. Tip number 3, always pick up the produce item before you pick it, right? We want to pick it up, rotate it around, look for any of those bruises or cuts, but also feel the firmness of the produce item. Like if we think about avocados, if we want to eat it tonight, we probably want it a little bit soft, but not too soft where it might be spoiled. But also we don't want it too firm to where it's not quite ready to eat. So picking it up, giving the produce a feel and making sure that it's not overly soft, but it's not overly firm. Tip number 4 is visibly look at the produce. Does it look fresh? Does it look bright and full of color? Those are good indicators of a good produce item, especially with some of our leafy greens like spinach, kale, lettuce. We want to make sure that it's bright in color and full. We don't want it to look wilted. Because that would indicate, maybe it's not quite as ripe as it should be, or maybe it's going to spoil a little bit quicker. So looking for some of those visible cues. And then tip number 5, so storage of produce is really important also. Different produce items have ethylene gas in them, which actually can speed up the spoilage process. Some produce items are higher in that, and some produce items are more sensitive to that. So some of the fruits high in ethylene gas: apples, bananas, melons, pears, peaches, avocados. And then on the inverse, foods that are sensitive to that, we have apples, asparagus, avocados, bananas, broccoli, cantaloupe, lemons, lettuce, peppers, sweet potatoes. So if we pair, bananas on the counter next to apples, those bananas might spoil a little bit quicker just because naturally those apples have higher ethylene gas and can spoil them a little bit quicker. So thinking about storage of the produce and making sure that we're storing it next to other produce items that aren't going to spoil it as quickly. So those are the 5 tips on how to pick produce. Again, like I said, thanks to Community and Wellness for hosting these monthly educational topics. Tune back into last week's seasonal produce video. It's on the KSB Facebook and YouTube page. And then stay tuned for next month's educational topic. We'll do a cooking demo on seasonal produce, probably cutting up some fresh fruits and vegetables. So my contact information is on the screen right here. Email and phone number, so if you have any questions or comments on this month's presentation, feel free to contact me.